So this sutra tells you the importance of practicing patience, and under very extreme conditions you still practice your loving kindness, patience, and you will learn how the Buddha expected you to have patience in some circumstances. So we will go directly into the sutra and learn from it. Kakacūpama Sutta. Can you try to say that?
Kakacūpama
Kakacūpama Sutta. Very good. So Kakacūpama means, upama means some simile. So kakaca here means so. You just imagine that maybe in old days people had, still they use it, they had that long saw and two people on either sides have to pull to the each direction to cut the wood. So cut timber, the logs. So that gives you some clue on what to expect. We will see. That simile is found at the very end, and we will come to it. I just want you to be curious about it. So, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Now, on that occasion, the Venerable Molliya Phaguna, what's his name? Molliya Phaguna, was associating overmuch with bhikkhunis. Bhikkhunis, so we are bhikkhus. Bhikkhunis means the nuns, the female ones. He was associating so much with bhikkhunis, not bikinis, okay? That if any bhikkhu spoke dispraise of those bhikkhunis in his presence, he would become angry and displeased and would make a case of it. And if any bhikkhu spoke dispraise of the Venerable Molliya Phaguna in those bhikkhunis' presence, they would become angry and displeased and would make a case of it. So much was the Venerable Molliya Phaguna associating with bhikkhunis. So they were bonded, and when bhikkhunis heard any criticism about Venerable Molliya Phaguna, they will be angry, and if Molliya Phaguna heard any disgrace about those bhikkhunis, he will be angry too. So that's how close they were. Then I'm going to replace the word bhikkhu with monk here for your convenience. Then a certain monk went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, he sat down at one side and told the Blessed One what was taking place. Then the Buddha addressed a certain monk this way: "Come, monk, tell the monk Molliya Phaguna in my name that the teacher calls him." So he went and reported that. So Venerable Phaguna went to the Blessed One, and then the Buddha asked, check number 5, "Phaguna, is it true that you are associating over much with bhikkhunis? That you are associating so much with bhikkhunis that if any bhikkhu speaks dispraise of those bhikkhunis in your presence, you become angry and displeased and make a case of it? And if any bhikkhu speaks dispraise of you in those bhikkhunis' presence, they become angry?" So he says, yes. He says yes, Venerable Sir. But he didn't say no. He knows that the Buddha knows. Usually the Buddha is able to read the minds of people. Get paid 4 pages for that. So he didn't want to lie to the Buddha. He just accepted. And then at the end, he he said yes, and then the Buddha says, Paguna, are you not a clansman who has gone forth out of faith from the home life into homelessness? So, are you not a monk? That's the basic question. Are you not a mendicant? He says, yes, Venerable Sir, I am. I have gone from home life to homelessness. Number 6. Paguna, it is not proper for you, a clansman gone forth out of faith from the home life into homelessness, to associate overmuch with bhikkhunis. Therefore, if anyone speaks dispraise of those bhikkhunis in your presence, you should abandon any desires and any thoughts based on the household life. So, the desires based on the household life is the desires about attachment. Looks like this monk had some, I don't know what's the word, like fantasies or some sort of, I think he was little, he associated those bhikkhunis so much that when someone said something bad or something about those bhikkhunis, he will have the feeling to respond, just as if he owned those bhikkhunis. It's just like you hear something about your husband and you want to respond, right? You hear something about your wife, you want to respond to that. So that's how close husband wives are, and you know each other so well, and you respond. So this monk didn't really have any husband-wife relationship with bhikkhunis, but mentally he was bonded with them. So you should abandon any desires, any thoughts based on the household life. And herein you should train thus, my mind will be unaffected, and I shall utter no evil words. When he came to the point of saying evil words, some abusive words, that means he got really angry upon what he heard. I shall abide compassionate for his welfare. Whose welfare? The accuser's welfare. With a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. This is how you should train Paguna. Say someone, accuse you on something, and this is what you need to do, like abide compassionate for that person's welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate, and that is a training. The Buddha used the word train. This is how you should train Paguna. It takes a little bit of training to be free from anger. You can't just pull out anger from your body, mind, heart, or wherever you feel anger. You cannot pull it out immediately. You need some training to condition your mind, to prepare you to think differently, to have a different reaction. A lot of people, ask the question from priests, monks, how do we overcome anger? Like, there's only coping you can do when you are angry. You just need to learn to cope with it at that point. But these kind of teachings, I think, are for people who are doing a strong mind training, and for them it's important to completely uproot any anger from your being. If you are having a domanassa mind, unhappy mind, then you are not going to listen pure wisdom. You are dusty in your mind, and that's a hindrance for your progress. So it's best you work on that. And that training is a training for you to be free from such people, such situations, and such thoughts. It's such a freedom to be free from anger. If you find any person who is free from anger, just be with them. Do whatever you can do, whatever to take care of them. They have won a lottery, it's such a victory they have achieved in their life. It's very rare to find people who are free from anger. Okay? Vita dosa is the name used for the Buddha because he's Vita, he's free from dosa. Dosa is the word for anger. Dvesha is the Sanskrit word and the Sinhalese word. So freedom from anger is Vita dosa. The Buddha was free from anger. When some people poked him, he didn't poke back. In Facebook, there's a feature you can poke someone and then they can poke back. But that's not something the Buddha would do. He usually says, okay, you are giving a gift to someone and that person does not accept your gift, so you have to keep it. That was his response. So it's like, I don't need your gifts, keep it. So that kind of a response. So now it gets a little intense here. Is it recording?
Yeah. But the head part,
Only the head part?
that's right, is not close, but
That's okay.
statue.
He's not giving a talk. He's giving a silent talk. If anyone gives those bhikkhunis a blow with his hand, with a cord, with a clod, with a stick, or with a knife in your presence, you should abandon any desires and any thoughts based on the household life. Just abandon such thoughts, And herein you should train thus, my mind will be unaffected. If anyone speaks dispraise in your presence, you should abandon any desire and any thoughts based on the household life. So the desires based on household life is, the term they used is kama vitaka. When you have kama, when you have attachment to something, someone, then only you start to react strongly, especially when this is very intense, like someone attacking a Buddhist nun with a knife. And I think you need to look at two different people here. Now, desireless person and a person with desire. Okay? So, person with lust, hatred and delusion in the presence of those nuns, and then a person person with lust, hatred and delusion, and person without those. And someone comes and attack a nun. So how do you think the two people will respond? Same way?
Physically or verbally attack?
Both like this. In this case, attacking with the knife is really physical attack.
Can't you do something with love in your heart?
I think you can, right?
Yeah.
You certainly can.
That's what Kung Fu is all about.
And what will this person look who does not use love and kindness?
He gets angry.
He gets angry, starts screaming, yelling, and become destructive, right?
That's reaction.
Yeah.
Thought mindfulness is a response.
Yes.
As opposed to a reaction.
Yes. So how do you mindfully react? Or respond?
Disarm the attacker with Loving kindness.
Yeah, where did where did mindfulness play the role? Like what? So, mindfulness is not just paying attention. Mindfulness is, watching your mind to prevent defilements from arising. That's the duty of mindfulness. If you're just observing things, you're just an observer. If you are preventing things from arising, if you are preventing angry thoughts from arising, then you are really actively utilizing mindfulness to, succeed in the battle of, fight with defilements. If not, mindfulness hasn't done any job. It's just like that burglar example, some rich lady telling the gatekeeper, the security, to be mindful about, the house and everything, and she goes to the temple, and when she came back a couple of hours later, everything has gone from the house, and the lady asked, what happened? He says, I was mindful when burglars came, and I was mindful when they loaded stuff into their truck. I was mindful when they were leaving. So he didn't take any actions, right? That's the key. Taking actions. Mindfulness alone does not help. You need to wrong mindfulness does not help. You need to have right mindfulness. That's the word. Sammasati, right mindfulness. Without sammasati, without right mindfulness, you're just watching like that gatekeeper, useless gatekeeper. So I'm glad you brought that up. With mindfulness you can prevent such defilements from occurring in your mind, but still take actions to prevent that person doing more harm to those women. And their observers know that you are acting out of compassion, not with desire towards those women. You see the difference?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So it's about my mind, right? My mind will be unaffected. If anyone speaks dispraise in your presence, you should abandon any desires and any thoughts based on the household life. And herein you should train thus, my mind will be unaffected. If anyone should give you a blow with his hand, with a cord, with a clod, with a stick, or with a knife, you should abandon any desires and any thoughts based on the household life. And herein you should train thus. So if anyone attacks you, this is hard. Even then, what is your protection here? Loving kindness. You do some self-defense with loving kindness and not with anger. I think the ordinary response is anger, and you attack. I think you become weakened by it. But if you have strong mind full of loving kindness, I think your response will control that person. Unless he's mad, in which case you need to run for your life. But that's really interesting to think about. But just like school bullying, when you don't react with anger, they become powerless. But they expect when you show your reaction, they win. They think
They feed off of it.
yeah, they feed off of it. They become strong. They become fascinated about your reaction, want to continue seeing it. Okay, number 7. Then the Buddha addressed the monks thus: Monks, there was an occasion when the bhikkhus satisfied my mind. So it was about the past he is talking about. Here I address the bhikkhus thus: Bhikkhus, I eat at a single session. By so doing, I am free from illness and affliction, and I enjoy lightness, strength, and a comfortable abiding. Come, monks, eat at a single session. By doing so, you will be free from illness and affliction, and you will enjoy lightness, strength, and a comfortable abiding. And I had no need to keep on instructing those monks. I had only to arouse mindfulness in them. So those monks at that time were very good, disciplined monks. Buddha had only little duty, just to give instructions, and they do exactly how the Buddha did. But later on, many people joined the order, and they needed more instructions from the Buddha or more rules. You should not do these kind of rules. You should abstain from that. So many rules started to come. Suppose there were a chariot on even ground at the crossroads, harnessed to thoroughbreds, waiting with a goad lying ready, so that a skilled trainer, a charioteer of horses to be tamed, might mount it, and taking the reins in his left hand and the goads in his right hand, might drive out and back by any road whenever he likes. So too, I had no need to keep on instructing those bhikkhus. I had only to arouse mindfulness in them. So the horse trainer had really, only little to do in terms of training those horses. So likewise, the Buddha only had little to do at that time. So in a way, the Buddha is saying now monks are a little mischievous. Therefore, monks, abandon what is unwholesome and devote yourselves to wholesome states. For that is how you will come to growth, increase, and fulfillment in this Dhamma and discipline. So what is wholesome? Mindfulness is a wholesome thing. Making effort is wholesome. And investigating your mind and body relationship is wholesome, because this gives you insight. Meditation, cultivation of your mind, all these are wholesome things. So that's what the Buddha tells you to do. Starting from eating a single meal a day. Very hard to practice. I think many Americans are eating, skip breakfast, right? They go to work, have their coffee, and then take their lunch, and then come home and have something, and then sleep, right? So it's just like 2 meal a day kind of a routine. Not many, maybe at least some. Especially in the work culture, that's what people do. So when I did university, I will have just milk tea, and then go to university, have my lunch, and then I get tired, come home, sleep. I was skinny in the university. After coming to the temple, I have to, most of the days people bring breakfast and then lunch. So eat 2 meals a day, especially after having breakfast, you feel full, and then about 3.5 hours or 4 hours later, you have to be ready for lunch. And your body still has food, but people say, yeah, we cook this for you, you should eat this. So that kind of, it's the culture. So, and then when we take little, they think the food is not tasty. So, and we don't really say the food is tasty, because that's not something monks would do. They are just supposed to accept and enjoy whatever is given. Anyway, the single meal has become 2 meals a day in monastic training, because it's not a big rule, it's a rule, just that was laid, like eat before the sun turns, like before it is afternoon. That's the rule. But there are exceptions, like when you are traveling, if you can't reach to a temple to have your meal on time, then you should not just exert your body, but have something so that you can focus on the rest of the day. Anyway, so the Buddha is a person who, I think this is the Vesak season, the season of his birth, enlightenment, and passing away season, like people talk about it. It all happened on this full moon day. And for 6 years he did self-mortification, and he cut down having any food to the point that he would only eat something that fell from a tree, like a leaf or something. So he went to the extreme of it, thinking, before he became a Buddha, because he had the belief that that kind of self-mortification, giving pain and suffering to the body, will free him from suffering. But then he realized it didn't. He went to the extreme of it, that any human could go. He went that far, and he realized that didn't help. So he had to slowly start eating. So I can only imagine, like he wasn't so interested in, after that kind of practice, I think he had to slowly start to getting used to eating again and putting his body back into normal routine. And after that, you just eat a little and your body is happy. You just eat enough. But nowadays, people eat and eat because they have food stored in refrigerators, and eat and eat. Obesity is a problem in many countries. Anyway, suppose there were a big sala tree grove near a village or town, and it was choked with castor oil weeds, and some man would appear desiring its good, welfare, and protection. He would cut down and throw out the crooked saplings that robbed the sap, and he would clean up the interior of the grove and tend the straight, well-formed saplings, so that the sala tree grove later on would come to growth, increase, and fulfillment. So too, monks, abandon what is unwholesome and devote yourselves to wholesome states, for that is how you will come to growth, increase, and fulfillment in this Dhamma and discipline. Formerly, monks, in this same Savatthi, there was a housewife named Vedeka. Vedeka is the housewife's name. And a good report about Mistress Vedeka had spread thus. Mistress Vedeka is gentle. Mistress Vedeka is meek. Mistress Vedeka is peaceful. Now Mistress Vedeka had a maid named Kali, who was clever, nimble, and neat in her work. The maid Kali thought, a good report about my lady has spread thus. Mistress Vedeka is gentle. How is it now, while she does not show anger, is it nevertheless actually present in her, or is it absent? Or else is it just because my work is neat that my lady shows no anger, though it is actually present in her? Suppose I test my lady. So the maid Kali got up late. Then Mistress Vedeka said, Hey Kali, what is it, ma'am? What is the matter that you get up so late? Nothing is the matter, ma'am. So Nothing is the matter, you wicked girl, yet you get up so late. And she was angry and displeased, and so scolded. Then the maid Kali thought, the fact is that while my lady does not show anger, it is actually present in her, not absent. And it is just because my work is neat that she shows no anger, though it is actually present in her, not absent. Suppose I test my lady a little more. So the maid Kali got up later in the day. Then Mistress Vedika said, Hey Kali, what is it, man? What is the matter that you get up later in the day? Nothing is the matter. Nothing is the matter. You wicked girl, yet you get up later in the day. And she was angry and displeased. So she wanted to test more, and she slept even later. Next passage. So the maid Kali got up still later in the day. Then, Hey Kali, what is it, ma'am? What is the matter that you got up still later in the day? Nothing is the matter, ma'am. Nothing is the matter, you wicked girl. Yet you get up still later in the day. And she was angry and displeased, and she took a rolling pin and gave her a blow on the head and cut her head. Take something like this. And hit. Rolling pin, to make roti, like things, dumplings, you use a rolling pin. Then the maid Kali, with blood running from her cut head, denounced her mistress to the neighbors. See, ladies, the gentle ladies' work. See, ladies, the meek ladies' work. See, ladies, the peaceful ladies' work. How can she become angry and displeased with her only maid for getting up late? How can she take a rolling pin, give her a blow on the head, and cut her head? Then later on a bad report about Mistress Vedika spread thus. Mistress Vedika is rough, violent, and merciless. So, when you are in the temple, you don't get angry because we treat you nicely. If you get a rolling pin, cut your head. You call police, and police come and
Take the monks away.
take the monks away. I don't know what you will do that. Or you will take justice in your hands. So too, monks. Some monks is extremely gentle, extremely meek, extremely peaceful, so long as disagreeable causes of speech do not touch him. But it is when disagreeable causes of speech touch him and that it can be understood whether that monk is really kind, gentle, and peaceful. So, I do not call a monk easy to admonish who is easy to admonish and makes himself easy to admonish only for the sake of getting robes, alms food, a resting place, and medicinal requisites. Why is that? Because that monk is not easy to admonish, nor makes himself easy to admonish when he gets no robes. So when he doesn't get the benefits, he will act differently. These are the basic requisites of a monk. But when a monk is easy to admonish and makes himself easy to admonish because he honors, respects, and reveres the Dhamma, him I call easy to admonish. Therefore, monks, you should train thus. We shall be easy to admonish and make ourselves easy to admonish, because we honor, respect, and revere the Dhamma. That is how you should train, monks. So, the next part is very interesting. Monks, there are these 5 causes of speech that others may use when they address you. Their speech may be timely or untimely, true or untrue, gentle or harsh, connected with good or with harm, spoken with the mind of loving kindness or with inner hate. When others address you, their speech may be timely or untimely. When others address you, their speech may be true or untrue. When others address you, their speech may be gentle or harsh. When others address you, their speech may be connected with good or with harm. When others address you, their speech may be spoken with a mind of loving kindness or with inner hate. Herein, monks, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall abide pervading that person with a mind imbued with loving kindness. And starting with him, we focus on him first. Starting with him, we shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. That is how you should train, monks. Monks, suppose a man came with a hoe and a basket and said, I shall make this great earth to be without earth. He would dig here and there, strew the soil here and there, spit here and there, and urinate here and there, saying, be without earth, be without earth. What do you think, monks? Could that man make this great earth to be without earth? No, Venerable Sir. Why is that? Because this great earth is deep and immeasurable. It is not easy to make it be without earth. Eventually, the man would reap only weariness and disappointment. So too, monks, there are these 5 courses of speech. Herein, monks, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected. Starting with him, we shall abide pervading all-encompassing world with a mind similar to the earth, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. That is how you should train, monks. So now similes are starting to come. Suppose a man came with the crimson, turmeric, indigo and carmine and said, I shall draw pictures and make pictures appear on empty space. What do you think, monks? Could that man draw pictures and make pictures appear on empty space? No, Venerable Sir. But he has many colors and he draws here, he draws there, but no images appear. Unless you use something like a drone and makes an image, but it also quickly disappears, right? So, why is that? Because empty space is formless and non-manifestive. It's not easy to draw pictures there or make pictures appear there. Eventually the man would reap only weariness and disappointment. So number 16. Monks, suppose a man came with a blazing grass torch and said, I shall heat up and burn away the river Ganges with this blazing grass torch. So you just take a little fire stick and try to disappear the river, Ganges river. What do you think, monks? Could that man heat up and burn away the river Ganges with that blazing grass torch? No, Venerable Sir. Why is that? Because the river Ganges is deep and immense. It's not easy to heat it up or burn it away with the blazing grass torch. Eventually the man would reap only weariness and disappointment. So if someone tries to do that, the effort is futile. So number 18. Monks, suppose there were a cat skin bag that was thoroughly well rubbed, soft, silky, rid of rustling, rid of crackling, and a man came with a stick or a potsherd and said, there is this cat skin bag that is rubbed, rid of rustling, rid of crackling. I don't know if they really use cat skin. I googled this. They don't have any cat skin, but I think a bag that is as soft as the skin of a cat. If you love cats, you can tell, right? bags. This should not be any marketing thing. So this man, I think, beat it and want to make a noise, rattling noise, but no noise come. So could that man make it rustle or crackle with the stick or the pot's head heard? No, Venerable Sir. Why is that? Because that catskin bag being rubbed, rid of rustling, rid of crackling, it's not easy to make it rustle or crackle with the stick or the pot's heard. Eventually the man would reap only weariness and disappointment. So, number 20. Monks, even if bandits were to sever you savagely, limb by limb with a two-handled saw. Now the simile of saw came, right? He who gave rise to a mind of hate towards them would not be carrying out my teaching. If you get angry, if you start to use hate speech, that person is not carrying my teaching, the Buddha says. Herein, monks, you should train thus. Our minds will remain unaffected, and we shall utter no evil words. We shall abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without inner hate. We shall abide pervading them with a mind imbued with loving kindness. And starting with them, we shall abide pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. That is how you should train, monks. Because if you keep this advice on the simile of the saw constantly in mind, do you see any course of speech, trivial or gross, that you could not endure? No, Venerable Sir. Therefore, monks, you should keep this advice on the simile of the saw constantly in mind. That will lead to your welfare and happiness for a long time. That is what the Blessed One said. Monks was happy, delighted in the Blessed One's words. So, this was mostly reading, I know you can read it yourself, but it just goes like a story. So, I read it. So we have 10 minutes more if you want to use that time for discussion. So now, this shows how intense the Buddha, I don't know what the word, like intense or what ways the Buddha expected people to practice loving kindness. Even if bandits were to, cut your limbs using a saw, now you are tied, just don't even go there. They are doing extreme harm to your body. And this is hard, right? There are many cases where, monks in the history were subjected to such severe punishments. This one time, I think, the rumor was that the monk had an affair with the queen, and so the story to read is in Pali, Tela Kataha Gata. So this monk actually was an enlightened monk, but suspicion occurred about him for some reasons. Probably he came to the palace and it happened to be a wrong time, or he came for some business. Somehow the king had wrong information and decided to burn the monk. So he made a huge pot with oil and started putting fire, and then put the monk into the pot. It's not a pot, like a huge thing. And the monk chanted some verses, and those verses are called verses on the oil pot, Telakatahagata, which now my brother monk is translating into English for his undergraduate thesis. So then the king realized that this monk is an enlightened monk. I don't know what happens, like whether he rescued or whether it was too late when the king realized. Somehow he uttered about 80 stanzas while the pot was boiling, and I think with miracle powers, psychic powers, he may have survived it, but maybe I'll have to read it and then get you the whole story. But these things happen. Even then you practice loving kindness. And other times this monk visited the householders, like a devotee's house, and he saw that the pet bird in the house happened to swallow a little gemstone that was there, and he saw it, and he didn't want to tell that because people were looking for it. They thought the monk took it. He happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. But he didn't want to tell that to the house, to the people, because they would kill the bird. So I think they attacked the monk, and couldn't find anything. But then later on they realized their mistake. So that's how. So this monk even then didn't have any hate speech or any anger towards those people, but they wait until they found out. He didn't say that. I don't know. I mean, those cases are found in Buddhist literature.
What if the person doesn't respond to your loving kindness?
They never respond to your loving kindness.
Right. So then, so that's
It's not a what if
dilemma,
question.
right?
They don't. We say that they would. Your non-reaction would somehow, give a different understanding to the person. But usually, in a severe case, intense situation like this, they don't respond to your loving kindness.
I think loving kindness is for you, not for the others.
Yeah. That's a good response. It's about you. Because if you die from that course of action, you need to make sure your mind is in a better place.
What if you could save others by harming him?
And can you harm that person with loving kindness?
By loving kindness to others?
You are still not having loving kindness.
So that's the question.
It's like all-encompassing world. So that man included. This is the thing about terrorists, I mentioned about this last Wednesday. They are included in our loving kindness. We cannot exclude them. They need it the most. This is I know it's not easy practice, but think of it now. You have the sutra. Read this again and again. Like ever since I read it, I still, have questions like you do.
And like I said earlier, there are. That's why there's like things like Aikido and Tai Chi
For defense.
For defense,
Yeah.
where you don't really use your force, you use their force and dissipate it. And you can do that without causing severe harm to people.
Yeah. So you need to have.
But you have to be skillful. You don't have to have the skills.
Strong man, not a weak man. Now in the United States, when they say, I think people have seen too many Korean, Japanese movies, and many Shaolin monks are there in those.
Yeah.
They think all the monks can do kung fu and karate. So in New York, I remember this taxi driver asking me, "Do you know karate?" I showed this to him. So he was silent most of the time. So, I really don't know.
Let me know if you ever want to learn.
That kind of a response. So that's the image, like people when they think that I'm Hare Krishna or something. So they wave at me, hey Hare Krishna. So I say, hey Hare Krishna. There's no time to explain, they're on a bike. Just to greet them back. So. So I think you read Kakacūpama Sutta, even there the teachings are about investigating the teachings, and there's a very beautiful part there about loving kindness. Loving kindness has been taught in many, many discourses, more than about breathing, breathing meditation or anything. Loving kindness, because it became the protection for monks. Because if there were so many monks and many non-Buddhist, like heretics, and they would even attack these monks, like try to poke these monks. So the Buddha always taught them loving kindness. Don't react, don't fight. You are not protecting anything if you are fighting. They even attacked the Buddha many times, and Buddha's response was not to flee but to stay and wait until the truth is revealed in many occasions. So you fill your mind, one quarter of your mind with loving kindness, and then the rest, and then the rest, and the whole mind with loving kindness, and you radiate loving kindness to all encompassing world, to every direction. And you can reach to a state called the beautiful state by practicing that kind of loving kindness. And all you see in the world is beauty. The ugliest thing looks beautiful to you. And it's easy to concentrate with. When you have practiced loving kindness, you only need to close your eyes and you go into deep meditations very quickly because of the power of loving kindness. And it leads to joy, tranquility, more peace, more calmness, and great results. Anyway, I think that's good for today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Happy meditation.
Thank you.